Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Farnham in Dorset. It's located about 7 miles northeast of Blandford Forum on the Cranbourne Chase. And we're going to be walking a roughly 4.5 mile circular route. We'll look at a few things in the village and then we'll head eastwards to the hamlet of MINCHINGTON and then north to another hamlet called Woodcutts. We'll be checking out the remains of an Iron Age settlement and then we'll head west through parts of the Rushmore Park before returning back to the village. Now I'm filming towards the end of June. It is a glorious sunny day. There's a few clouds about, might cloud over a little bit later, but should be perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car in the centre of Farnham. Let's have a little wander through the village. That's one of those villages that's just full of gorgeous thatched cottages. Now, although there's lots of evidence of Iron Age activity around about, I don't think there's actually any in the village itself. It developed really from 5 separate small settlements or parcels of land, and there's a small stream, I think it's the upper reaches of the Gussage Brook, the source of that's around here somewhere, and the stream flows through the village and I think it eventually joins the River Allen, I'm not sure. Oh, I love this cottage here with the white paint and the thatch, and oh, look at those 3, are they geese or ducks? Geese, I think, at the top. What a beautiful little street with cottage after cottage. You could be taking back centuries, couldn't you? And this one on the left is called Dog Cottage. The name Farnham, well, it gets its name, well, it's Old English for fern, meaning fern, and ham, homestead. And it's recorded in the Domesday Book as Farnham. But from medieval times to the 19th century, it was owned by the de Tollard family from Tollard Royal, which is just across the county border in Wiltshire to the north. And Lord Rivers bought the 2 manors in the area in 1820 and 1866. Oh, I think this is my favourite so far. Appledore Cottage with the thatch and also the roses up the side there. Beautiful. And this is the Museum Inn. Now there was a thatched building here in the 16th century. I'm not sure what the original name was, but the name changed to the Museum Inn as it was developed as a hotel for visitors to a museum to the south of the village in the 1880s. Certainly a 1901 map calls it the Museum Hotel. Now, Augustus Pitt Rivers, who's often referred to as one of the fathers of English archaeology, inherited the estate in 1880, and he lived in Rushmore House to the north of here. He converted a farmhouse to the southwest of the village that had previously been used for a short time as a gypsy school into a museum, and it held a collection of his archaeological finds and specimens amongst other things. It was very popular with something like 12,000 visitors in 1899, but visitors needed somewhere to stay, so this hotel was needed. And I see there's a date up on the wall of the building there of 1890 with the initials APR, Augustus Pitt Rivers. Pitt Rivers died in 1900, aged 73, and all the items in the museum were dispersed in the 1960s and 1970s. I think there's still a separate Pitt Rivers Museum in Oxford University that was opened in 1884. Now, we're not actually going to walk by the house where the museum was, as it's not on the route, but I think it's just residential now, called Elm Court, with the houses built behind it. I tell you, this village is just full of fascinating things to spot. Look up on the thatched roof there, a couple of hares, and then just to the side, what have we got here? A little shed, Hill House Holt. I wonder if that was an old signal box. Don't know. Crikey, look at this. I think this looks as though it's a covered well. I'm not sure. There's a carving above the entrance there, APR 1891. It certainly looks as though it was a mechanism for a well that looks like it's been sort of concreted over now. Lovely that it's still here. Beautiful. Well, this quite delightful church is the Church of St Laurence. The nave has origins to the 12th century, and the south tower is either late 15th century or early 16th century. It incorporates a porch. The north aisle was added in 1835, and the chancel was rebuilt and north vestry added in 1886. I think it's got 2 bells. And I was reading that, well, before the plague, most of the village dwellings were clustered around the church here, but now the majority of the houses are either side of the road that follows the stream. Well, let's have a little peep inside. Just inside the porch here is the first of 2 fonts. I think this is the younger one, sort of from the 18th century. So there's the second font just on my left here. I believe that's medieval. It's got 12 sides to it. Look at the, well, they're not, well, yes, they are sort of paintings, aren't they? Up on the wall to the left, either side of the window. And there's the organ in the corner there. And then the windows here, majority of them are not stained glass, but there is a sort of edging of stained glass around the side. And there's the pulpit there, which I believe dates to the 18th century. And there's the chancel with an impressive window above the altar there. There is actually a very beautiful, completely stained glass window just to my right. Here we go, yeah. Looking quite magnificent in the morning sunshine. Now, I was reading that William Joyce, otherwise known as Lord Haw Haw, was once a resident in the village for a short period of time. Now, Joyce was actually born in the United States of America and brought up in Ireland, and he came over to the UK while still a teenager. He obtained a UK passport in 1938 and then left to Germany in 1939 and became a naturalised German in 1940. But throughout the Second World War, he gave propaganda broadcasts to Britain under the call sign, Germany calling, and indeed he was known as Lord Haw Haw. At the end of the war, he was actually captured and brought back to England and hanged for treason in 1946. I was reading also that, well, technically he should never have had a UK passport, as when he actually applied for it, he stated he was a British citizen, when in fact he was still an American. But the fact that he had a UK passport for a few months whilst he was broadcasting was enough for him to have been considered a traitor. Well, what an enchanting little village Farnham is. Okay, well, we're now going to start heading out into the countryside, initially heading sort of southeast and then eastwards to a little hamlet called Minchington. Our first little pit stop of the day to take in a view. So this is looking over to the sort of north. I'm going through this field of oilseed rape. Of course, the flowers have long gone and the seed pods beginning to develop now. The year really is flying by, that's for sure. Well, we've now reached the outskirts of the little hamlet of Minchington. I think that's how you pronounce the name, not sure. We've just come through a quite beautiful little bit of woodland, which had a little bit of shade, which was perfect. And we're going to carry on this tiny little country road for a little bit and then look for a footpath that's going to head northwards. Delightful little bridge just behind me as well. Lovely day for a ride.
The sun's gone in now.
I know, it'll come out in a minute. What a lovely horse you've got.
Thank you.
So this little section of the walk that we're on now, still very much on the Jubilee Trail, heading northwards, and we stay on this track for some time, pretty much in a straight line. Well, what I love about this little section of the walk is there's a real variety. We've just come through a field or passed along the side of a field of wheat, and now we're in a lovely little shaded section, again still on the Jubilee Trail. A little pit stop for the view with a field of oats, I think it is. This is where we say goodbye to the Jubilee Trail. It sort of veers off to the east, and we carry on heading north. So this is just looking back to the south. So we've been following well, our footpath has been in those trees there. A lovely sight of some exquisite red poppies just on the side of the field here. Of course, this is very much their time of year. Now, this is an important part of the route. We've come to a place called Champ's Farm, and we now head directly east to Woodcutts. Champ's Farm was originally a 16th century house, I believe, but it was all demolished in the 1960s. So I don't think there's anything to see, but as I say, we're heading east anyway. We're just coming into Woodcutts. It's a tiny little hamlet. I think it's in the parish of Sixpenny Handley to the east, and the original name was Woodcote. In the 18th century it comprised just a manor house, a farm, a school and a chapel. Now, just as we're coming through Woodcutts, somewhere either in this field or the next field there are some old earthworks, but I think they're very difficult to make out. But don't worry, we should see some much better earthworks later on, I promise. There's the old Woodcutts Methodist Chapel with, looks like there's a date of 1853 on it. Well, we've just passed through Woodcutts. I say it's a very, very small place, and continuing to head northwards, we'll be looking out for a path that will take us over to the west, but we will be doing a tiny little detour further north to check out some earthworks. Now I've made a little bit of a detour north onto Woodcutts Common to see if I can spot some earthworks. And well, sure enough, I can see a little bit of banking in front of me. Basically, it's an Iron Age and Romano British settlement that covers something like 4 acres. It probably was a large farmstead, and there were 3 phases of development. The first phase was in the 1st century AD, and there was a circular enclosure with a house, and that was about 300 foot in diameter, and the ditch there was, what, 18 foot wide and 6 foot deep. The second phase was in the 2nd century, when 3 outer enclosures were added, and then the third phase in the 4th century AD, a further enclosure was included, including a well and some buildings, but it was occupied right up until, well, 360 AD. Now looking over to the west, there's some more earthworks by Brooks Coppice, and well, we'll be heading to the coppice quite shortly. And there was once a circular enclosure there of about 1 acre with a ditch about 18 foot wide, a couple of foot deep with an outer bank, and it certainly shows on some old maps, but I'm not so sure it's still there because it looks like they've built a golf course on it. At least that's what it looks like. I might be totally wrong, of course. Well folks, I feel the time has come for me to introduce you to my new little toy that might sort of, well, add a little bit to some of the film footage, a bit of variety. It's a Hover Air X1. It's basically a tiny little drone. It's almost a toy, to be honest, and it only has about 6 modes, but you can see it's tiny, it folds up, fits in my pocket. You don't have to have a mobile phone to use it or any controls. It's all done on the machine itself, and literally all I do, I'll put it in hover mode. So I'm still new with this. You basically put it on your hand, you press the button, and that should fire it up. It speaks to you, hopefully. There we go, it's having a think about it.
Current mode, zoom out.
Right, I'll just put it in hover mode.
Follow. Orbit. Bird eye. Custom. Hover.
Hover. So I press the button,
Continue. Hover.
and it should literally take off from my hand, and it's just going to hover, and it's just filming me. It'll do follow, an orbit, a zoom out, and basically also a sort of side by look. And it doesn't go very far. This is quite close. I think on the orbit it'll do about 6 meters. And to stop it, it should just land, and that's it. And then switch it off.
Continue.
Oh,
Hover.
it seems to want to carry on. Hang on, let me switch it off. There we go. Folds up and in my pocket. So it's nice and easy. It's actually easier to use for those sort of walking scenes than it is having to put up a tripod and what have you. There are a few downsides. It only films in 2.7K. Of course, all my films are in 4K, so the image quality won't quite be so good. But we'll see how it goes. We'll probably include a little bit of footage in the next few videos or so, and see what you think. Well, we're now back on our main route from that little detour, and now heading westwards to I think it's called Pollard's Wood is the actual wood that we're going to be going through. Another little stop to take in the view. So there's woodcuts over to the far right and the footpath in front of me across the field that we've been following. And so this is over to the east, and then just over to the left, those were the earthworks that we were having a look at a little bit earlier on. Well, we're now in Pollard's Wood. We should get a little bit of shade as well now, and we carry on this path until we eventually join up with a section of the Hardy Way. Well, I've just come out of Pollard's Wood and about to join the Hardy Way and head southwards. We're in Rushmore Park now, which is a late 19th century park that was laid out by General Pitt Rivers, incorporating a smaller 17th century enclosure and medieval deer park. So Rushmore House is to the north of here. The Pitt Rivers family continued to live at the house until about 1927, and the house itself was sold in 1963, I think. It's now a school. Well, a little update on the route. We've come out of Rushmore Park and we've followed this road for a little bit, and then we're just about to head south. A little bit more road work, then we're going to look out for a footpath that'll take us back over some fields. This is the footpath that I was looking for. So we follow this, and this should take us all the way back to Farnham. And here we are back at the village of Farnham, and in particular the Museum Inn, which I see is open. So, well, we really ought to pop in there just for research purposes for the video, of course. Well, folks, here we are in the beer garden of the Museum Inn, just checking out their ale, Buckham. Very nice too. And of course, as is tradition, crisp time. What have we got? The British Crisp Company. Let's see if they pass the test. Yep, they do. Well, we hope you enjoyed our walk today. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Right, oh, they went back. They look rather nice. Yeah. And so's this.